Hey guys, welcome back to Jurassic Collectibles. I hope you're all doing really well. As some of my long-term subscribers will know, I'm a huge fan of the Star Wars franchise, and today I was lucky enough to see Star Wars The Last Jedi in cinemas. And I believe it comes out a day early here in the UK compared to the US. It came out on the 14th of December here. And I just thought I'd share my thoughts, because this is one of those films where you're really going to want to seek out other people's opinions and sound off your feelings about the film. Just to warn you, this review will contain spoilers. It's really hard not to discuss this film without going into spoilers, so just to warn you, if you haven't seen the film, don't listen any further, but if you have seen the film and want to hear some discussion, then keep listening. So, my feelings about The Last Jedi coming out of the cinema were honestly really mixed. I gauge how much I like a film by how much I'm looking forward to owning a copy of the film on DVD, Blu-ray or download. And in all honesty, I don't think I want to own this film because I'm not sure if I'm going to get rewatch value out of it. And that's not to say that I totally disliked this film. There were parts of it that were fun, but I don't see myself sitting through this again simply because of the problems that were really evident on this first watch of the film. The positives are that it does have some real Star Wars feels in the second half of the movie. For one, Yoda makes an appearance, which is completely unexpected, and in terms of his visual appearance, he looks like the puppet from The Empire Strikes Back. He's not 100% accurate, he still looks a little bit odd, but it's cool to see that they attempted to make him more like the traditional Yoda that we know and love. And he has a really strong message for Luke Skywalker, in that he shouldn't hold on to his bitterness and he shouldn't hold on to physical things. He needs to remember who he is, and he gives him the same sort of treatment he did in The Empire Strikes Back, where he talks down to him like a little boy. And I really loved that return to old. That really for me rekindled the feeling of Star Wars, so I loved that moment on Acto. And actually, Acto is probably where most of the best stuff in this film occurred. Mark Hamill's performance in this film is absolutely fantastic. He is the backbone of this film, and I feel like the rest of the film that surrounded it was almost like padding to fill the gaps, and it was actually quite a long feeling film. It did feel like it dragged on for quite a while, and I was waiting for the bits where we returned to Acto with Luke and Rey to find out what the next main chunk of the story was going to be. So the first thing I want to get off my chest are the J.J. Abrams mystery box enigmas, those questions in Force Awakens that we've all been longing for the answers to. They are: who is Snoke? What is his past? Who is this supreme being, and how did he become the supreme being? Who are Rey's parents, and who was she waiting for, her family on Jakku, and why are they so important? These have been the questions that Star Wars fans have been wondering for the past 2 years. And, you know, there's numerous speculation videos online on YouTube talking about various theories, and a lot of them were really strong. Well, it turns out that actually none of these answers are resolved in The Last Jedi. Yep. I'm sorry to say that actually these questions and their answers are subverted and kind of dismissed very quickly and quite blandly, and that's such a shame. I don't know if this was the director's intention. I love Rian Johnson as a director. I really love the film Looper, but I almost feel like maybe the studio said you have to answer these questions in your film, and Rian Johnson went okay and then just ticked them off his list. We don't learn anything more about Snoke, and he's killed off in the first half of the film, so the whole mystery of Snoke is completely popped. That's gone. J.J. Abrams' question that he set up, the whole mystery, means nothing. Then you've got Rey's parents. Turns out Rey's parents are probably just some locals from Jakku who sold her off to traders for money for drink. I mean, how disappointing is that in terms of the mystery that we've all been waiting for the answers to? That was my biggest disappointment, and that's probably the biggest feeling of why I'm mixed about this film. As I said, early on in the film, Snoke dies, and then Kylo Ren steps into the role of wanting to be the leader of the galaxy. At that point, I almost felt like it's all done. The whole film is resolved. Why do we need to carry on? And when Kylo Ren stepped in and said, I want to rule the galaxy with you, Rey, at my side, I think because we've heard this so many times now, that felt quite weak in terms of that being used as a device to move the story on. And Kylo Ren being the new threat to me felt a little weak, I have to be honest, because if I'm honest, I preferred the mystery of Snoke, because I didn't know how powerful this guy was, and I still didn't know his backstory. So as a villain, Snoke presented far much more of an enigma and a threat than Kylo Ren did. And Snoke actually talks down to Kylo Ren in this film and kind of says he's a bit like a petulant boy. And he still feels that way in the latter half of this film when he's supposed to step up to the role of being like the new Darth Vader. As a villain, I'm not sure if he's that strong. The feeling I get at the end of this film is that we might take a big generational gap between the second and third film, and a lot of time might pass in a way that might add to the strength of Kylo Ren being a bad guy, because he might have developed and matured and become really evil as a villain. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out in the third chapter. But in this chapter, in the second half, I felt like he wasn't so much of a threat. This was strengthened by the fact that Kylo Ren and Rey could now communicate, so I almost felt like Kylo Ren sympathised with her a bit, so he was taken down a notch in terms of his threat level for me. In terms of Star Wars feels, one of the biggest parts where I got chills was near the end when Luke comes back and he actually reunites with Leia briefly, and then steps out onto the salt plains to face Kylo Ren. That's a very exciting and inspirational moment for Star Wars fans. At the very end, Luke Skywalker ends his arc by melting away, much like Yoda and Obi-Wan have done. And to be honest, I felt this wasn't necessary at the end of the film. Yes, he had rescued what was left of the rebels, and he had given a new Jedi a chance to start a new order, but the fact that he dissolved felt almost like it wasn't needed. It was a superfluous part at the end to end his arc that way. He could have actually made it into the third film, and I would have believed that. The fact that he was on Acto almost makes that stronger, because he hasn't actually met anyone physically yet. So actually there was a lot more potential for Luke Skywalker's character, and him just being dissolved at the end is a bit of a shame. But maybe we will see him as a Force ghost, much like Obi-Wan Kenobi in the next chapter. Visually, this film was stunning. I mean, the lighting, the actual composition of the shots, and the way that Rian Johnson had framed everything, it was absolutely gorgeous. If anything, I think that the weakness of this film was more the writing, the dialogue, and also the plot points of the film. I mean, to give you one example, the fact that the Empire is chasing a group of resistance fighters across the galaxy at a snail's pace, and they're just out of range, so they can't shoot them, is a very bizarre thing to hold as the storyline throughout the film, and I felt it was very dragged out. I think the story definitely needed another draft, and needed more respect of the big enigma questions that were set up in J.J. Abrams' Force Awakens. That's my personal feeling coming out of the film. Anyway guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment down below if you've seen The Last Jedi and whether you liked it or not. I hope I haven't come over too negative in this review, because overall it's a very visually stunning film. I just think that there are big weaknesses involved with the story, and I just hope that the third film resolves these. Like I said, I came out of the film mixed. I didn't hate the film, but I don't think I want to get it on DVD or Blu-ray at this stage. I'll have to let it sink in and maybe go and see the film one more time, but these are my initial thoughts. Okay guys, rate, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.